I'm curious, Brandon, what are you and Dave and all of your listeners there at Denver Sports 760 saying about the news coming out of Houston about Brock Osweiler being benched in favor of Tom Savage?
Well, I don't know if anyone's cheering about it because Brock was a good guy, and we all liked dealing with Brock, especially last year when we had to deal with him more as he was starting all those games in place of Peyton Manning. But I do think from the get-go, everyone feels like they dodged a bullet not having to pay Brock the $16 million that John Elway offered. And so when people want to change the narrative that, oh, John Elway is a genius, and look, up until this year, he had won 5 straight division titles and gone to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. So he definitely has a scoreboard on his side. Plus, we all know he's a pretty good quarterback. But John wanted Brock Osweiler here. He drafted Brock Osweiler. Brock played with his son Jack in college at Arizona State. Brock, I think, was going to be the guy that John was drafting no matter what. Going back to that draft, we know John wanted Andrew Luck, wasn't going to get him. Wanted RG3 because RG3 was the Heisman Trophy winner. Obviously wasn't going to get him. But you had Nick Foles, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins all in that draft, and Brock was the guy that he had circled. Let's just pretend there's a world where Tim Tebow was still a starter going into the year, as John had proclaimed, and Peyton Manning hadn't chosen the Broncos. Well, I think Brock Osweiler was still going to be a Denver Bronco. He was the guy John had tabbed. I mean, even with Peyton on the roster, he traded up to go get Brock in the second round to make sure that he had him, and he wanted him back. And I think that Brock's feelings were hurt, and his agent Jimmy Sexton's feelings were hurt, and his wife's feelings were hurt when Peyton went back into that Chargers game in Week 17 last year. But, you know, it's not show friends, it's show business, and the Broncos dodged a bullet. They don't owe Brock that money, but they didn't want to pay it to him. So I don't know if anybody over here is gloating. I think they're worried enough about their own issues on offense, not necessarily at quarterback, but for the Texans, I mean, they're kind of stuck right now. If Tom Savage plays better than Brock, which is totally understandable that he might, well, I mean, you're the ones that signed the deal without working Brock out and letting him meet with Bill O'Brien. So it's kind of it's mostly Bob McNair's fault, Rick Smith's fault.